Welcome to the April devlog of my 2D RPG. In this video, I will show you the new gameplay elements, graphics, a bit about the story, music and sounds that I worked on in March. Without further ado, let's jump straight into the new gameplay mechanics. I have added interactions with important points in the world. Previously, you could only interact with NPCs. To indicate to the player that something is interactable, I added a small icon in the bottom right corner showing when an interaction is possible. This way, players don't have to randomly spam interactions throughout the world to figure out what can be interacted with. I also decided that interactions should only be possible with elements relevant to world building or the story. So, no interacting with a bed just to get a message like,
"This is a bed, you sleep in it."
"Oh really? Thanks." I used this system for the first quest, which I changed. Previously, you could only interact with exclamation marks and then had to talk to the cashier to complete the quest. Now, you can interact with all shelves and take the groceries you want. If you look closely, they even disappear when taken. Depending on how many and which ones you take, the effect of the final item you receive changes, as does the price. Unless, of course, you simply steal them, then it's free. If you feel guilty, you can return to the market and pay afterward, or just rub it in the cashier's face. Wait a minute, the cashier has a visitor. Now you even have the chance to talk your way out of the theft. Or you can just never return to the market and continue the story. I changed this scene because I want players to have a lot of freedom in how they play the game. Decisions will have an impact on the story, and I actually want to avoid traditional quests altogether. However, I still need them to drive the story forward. My solution, just like in the market scene, the player will have different ways to progress. There won't be a quest log. Players will have to figure out how to complete certain tasks on their own. However, I will provide a list of these tasks for them. So, in a way, it is a quest log after all. Its main purpose is to help players get back into the game if they haven't played for a while. Okay, that probably sounded a bit confusing. I hope you get my idea. But now, let's move on to the combat. Did I continue working on the fight? No. Did I make graphics for it? Yes, one. But I did add a field displaying the names of the moves being used. I also use this field for dialogues, where enemies make fun of you.
"That's all? I kinda expected more."
Or themselves.
That wasn't so bad. Maybe we should be a little more careful with this one.
"What are you talking about? Gonna get beaten by this kid."
Additionally, you can see the only graphic I have completed so far for this, a turn order display. But it's not just a simple graphic, no, it's even animated. You can scroll back and forth to see up to 9 upcoming turns. I could expand this further, but I think 9 is enough for now. This display is also supposed to be hidden during attacks, but I haven't implemented that function yet. Additionally, you can now go back after pressing a button. This should have been implemented from the start, but I just didn't do it. That's all for the new mechanics. Now let's move on to the biggest time sink, graphics. This month, I didn't create as many new graphics as last month. However, I spent about the same amount of time reworking old graphics. Let me walk around outside and you might notice something. That's right, the flowers move occasionally. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. The trees and bushes have different graphics. These are different stages of my attempt to draw them in a way I'm satisfied with. But why? I was actually quite happy with last month's trees, but dissatisfied with the bushes. So I experimented with them first and ended up with this version. However, I wasn't happy with that either, so I added leaves to the previous graphic. That looked better to me, so I drew both bushes in that style. But now the trees no longer matched, so I had to redraw them as well. And this took forever. Drawing one tree took around 5 to 6 hours. And was extremely boring, so I never did more than one per day, if that. And the best part, I still wasn't satisfied after drawing and implementing 4 trees. Maybe the problem was that they didn't match the grass or that they were simply too small. I thought, they're just too small. Let's make another tree, but twice as big. I didn't finish it though, because I realized I needed a different solution. So I started drawing again. In the end, I had this and 6 other similar ones. When I put them together and add some darker ones underneath, it looks pretty good and I can use them for trees and bushes. And the best part, it only takes 30 minutes to an hour. My inspiration for this came from the trees in Octopath Traveler, particularly their leaf structure. Maybe you can see it, maybe not. Let me know in the comments what you think of the new trees. But I also reworked more graphics. The salon got a slight update and the market was heavily reworked. Here you can see the old graphics and then the new ones. Another thing you might notice is the character outlines. They used to be black, but now they're colored. I had wanted to change this for a while, but wasn't sure if colored was better. So I made a short asking for your opinion. The majority voted for colored outlines. I also received a comment suggesting an option to switch between dark and colored outlines, as the dark ones were better for someone with vision problems. So I added that option as well. Since the short worked so well, I plan to consult you again for important decisions. If you want to participate next time, consider subscribing so you don't miss the short. But enough self-promotion. The last thing I did was adjust the shadows for NPCs and the player so they match the other shadows. Normally this is the point where I'd say I'm happy with the graphics, but that's not true. I'm still dissatisfied with many of them. For example, here's my sprite for sitting on a couch. Looks like the character is standing, right? It's almost the same sprite. Some furniture needs to be redrawn. Some need more contrast. And while working on outlines, I noticed mistakes in the main character sprites that I want to fix. Also, some shadows still look really bad. So there's a lot I want to rework. But to make progress, I introduced a new workflow where I spend equal time on new and old graphics. This method worked well this week and I finished the animation for the turn order. So I hope that next month I can show you more entirely new graphics instead of just reworked ones. But enough about graphics. Let's move on to the story. I originally wrote the story roughly in a text file, but I wanted something more structured. That's when I found Obsidian, which allows linking texts and generating a graph. Mine currently looks like this, though I only have a few details so far. Most points are just bullet points of key events, which I am gradually expanding with details. The bigger points are those I already wrote details for. However, I won't reveal any story details here. I want you to experience them while playing. Now for the final topic, sounds and music. First, sounds. I didn't add any new ones, but did add new voice lines. However, I plan to recreate them. Previously, I fed text into an AI and hoped it would produce a result with the right intonation. This rarely worked as intended. Now, I provide the AI with both the text and an audio file where I read the lines with the correct emphasis. The AI then replicates the intonation while changing the voice. My tests have been promising and I hope this improves the voice lines. Ideally, I'd have real voice actors, but that's not within my budget. I'm doing my best with the resources I have. If the voice lines still bother anyone, they can be disabled. Finally, music, my biggest weakness. I still don't have a track I'm satisfied with, but I keep trying to compose melodies. This time I have a short one to share. Keep in mind, I only started working with music 2 months ago, so please don't be too harsh. Feel free to leave feedback in the comments on this or anything else. That's it for this month's progress and this devlog. I thought I was unproductive, but looking back, I actually accomplished quite a bit. If you want to see next month's progress, tune in on May 4th, the first Sunday of the month as usual. If you don't want to remember that, you can subscribe and get notified. That's all. Hope to see you next month. Bye.